Welcome back to another video. Today we are reacting to the big line of Animal Crossing balloons, the science of Animal Crossing New Horizons by Game Theory. So subscribe, like the video, hit that bell if you want more quality content like this, and to support my channel, because when I hit 200 subscribers, I will read all of your comments. Yes, I will read all of them. Maybe not all of them, but I will read most of them. Right? I will read all of your comments, unless you're a comment bot, which I'll hide you from my channel because you don't deserve to be here. But if you are a real person, subscribe. So yeah, in 3, 2, 1, let's react.
Dear Nintendo, hi, it's me, Quarantine Austin, replete with quarantine hair.
Quarantine hair. What up? Are we overusing this cutaway gag?
I'm fine.
Probably.
I'm fine. We are fine. What month is it again? September? No? May? I hate myself. Anyway,
It's
today
June
I'm
now.
going
I don't
to
know how.
just this once break one of.
Why are there these like things here? What are there like opening credits? Because there are no opening credits in the actual when MatPat hosts these videos. But if Austin's there, there's always some opening credits. Well, why is that? Why is that?
My cardinal rules. You may not know this, but I personally have a rule to not ever do a video on a game I've never played myself. I think it makes videos better that I do things
Yeah.
about games I actually like, and I'm more likely to miss something obvious if I haven't played a game with my own two hands. But I am going to break that rule this week. Why would I do such a thing? Because I cannot play the game that I'm doing my video on. Why can't I play it? Because my spouse and somehow my 3-year-old both have a monopoly on the game. I can't get near the controller in my apartment. You know what's worse? I don't want you messing up my island is said to me by the person that I married. Like I can't be trusted to
Wait,
not—
he's married? He's married? Really? He has a kid? Really? We're deep into the personal facts from Austin Hurrigan.
not ruin the excellent landscaping and carefully curated aesthetic just because in real life I sometimes forget to close the cabinets when I leave the kitchen and have a collection of roughly 10 half-filled glasses on my side of the bed. That said, I have definitely watched a metric butt-ton of Animal Crossing gameplay, so I am going to bite the bullet. And it's cute! It's fun! There's very little to criticize, except for one thing. You thought I couldn't look past your cute aesthetic, Nintendo, and find something to nitpick? I've got laser science vision, Nintendo! My
Laser
mind
science
was
vision.
forged in the darkness of nitpick hell, demolishing franchises like Mario, Pokemon, and Minecraft. This game is nothing. You hear me? It's nothing.
It's nothing.
You can run, you can hide, but I will
you
always find something to rampage about in every single game ever made, except for
Alright.
Kerbal Space Program. Those cute little green gremlins can do nothing wrong. I love them so much. Mwah.
Animal Crossing.
Okay, in all honesty, this
gameplay.
video is less of a nitpick and just looking at something I've always been fascinated with, and it's this: the float.
I've never watched an Animal Crossing video before. I've never played it, so I don't know what Animal Crossing is all about. All right, I don't know what Animal Crossing is all about. What you do? What's your goal? Why would you play it? I don't know all of those things. I've never watched an Animal Crossing gameplay. I've never actually played Animal Crossing, so I don't know anything about the game. I know nothing. So this is a deep dive into knowing something about Animal Crossing.
Floating balloon presents. Ever since I was a kid, I was fascinated with helium balloons, a trait I think shared by most children, and I always tried to get my toys to fly with them.
Is that baby Austin Hurrigan?
But
Probably
never
not.
found any success. But today is the day, dang it. I'm gonna make it
Today's the
happen.
day.
But first, we gotta go over the science and ask the question, is it possible to deliver gifts through a floating balloon delivery service? The answer to
Probably
that question may surprise you. Okay, so before we get to the science, which is
I mean,
incredible, let's get everyone up to speed if they somehow don't know yet. Every 5 to 15 minutes, a box floating on a balloon will spawn on your island. You shoot it down with a slingshot, and bada bing, bada boom, you get free stuff. Sometimes it's a piece of furniture, sometimes it's clothes, sometimes it's money, bells, sometimes crafting materials like clay or iron, and sometimes it's a recipe that teaches you how to make the items for you.
The only thing I know about Animal Crossing is there are tambourines there. That's because of PewDiePie, because he's always playing Animal Crossing with a tambourine. And now we're gonna F in the chat for PewDiePie's tambourine. Alright, it's going through surgery. We need to really press all those F's in the chat for PewDiePie's tambourine because it's going through surgery. It was a victim of PewDiePie's rages. So yeah, I'm F in the chat for PewDiePie's tambourine.
Yourself, that's it. That's the entire premise. So let the fun begin.
That is a supply drop in Fortnite.
How does a balloon filled with gases float? Buoyancy, a word I swear to God I know how to pronounce in spite of what my video on Fortnite would lead you to believe. Buoyancy, or more specifically, buoyant force, is a force that is created whenever anything is submerged in a fluid. A fluid, in this context, is a substance that deforms under applied forces. Gases and liquids and plasmas are all fluids. This includes our atmosphere, which is a fluid soup made out of nitrogen, oxygen, argon, some water vapor, and an ever-increasing amount of carbon dioxide. That means that anything submerged in it has a buoyancy force pulling it upward. Well, actually, technically pushing it upward, and I kind of glossed over how this worked in my Fortnite video, but let's get real
we need some more Fortnite game theories.
Down and dirty. How does buoyancy actually work? Okay, so let's submerge a thing like, I don't know, a balloon filled with helium in a fluid, like, let's just say a mixture of 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, 0.9% argon, and 0.03% carbon dioxide. For all intents and purposes, this balloon is considered a solid object, even though it itself is full of a fluid as well, the helium. If this balloon is filled with 6 liters of helium, it is taking up 6 liters, or 0.006 cubic meters of space. Make sense? This is 0.006 cubic meters of space that would ordinarily be taken up by the atmosphere, but now that atmosphere has to move out of the way. Now, 6 liters of helium weighs approximately 1.74 grams, plus 2 grams for the balloon, giving us a total of 3.074 grams of mass. But, and here's where things get really interesting, that volume of air, it weighs over 7 grams. What this means is that the force of gravity on this mass of air is greater than the force of gravity on the balloon, meaning that the air that is pushed out of the way by the presence of the balloon falls underneath it, pushing the balloon up. This will happen until the weight of the balloon matches the weight of the air it's pushing out of the way, which in this example is roughly 8 kilometers high, or about 26,000 feet. This is actually pretty similar to how a hot air balloon works, but instead of using a gas that's much lighter than the atmosphere, like helium, which is actually pretty expensive, they instead use heat to lower the density of the air inside the envelope and also increase the volume of the envelope so it displaces more of the atmosphere. It's because of this that hot air balloons...
I would want to ride a hot air balloon, but I'm pretty sure I haven't. But I do want to ride one because it looks pretty cool. It looks pretty cool to ride a hot air balloon. It's gotta be pretty cool. You're gonna look down, you realize you're thousands of feet up in the air and you can't move, because if you do, if you fall down, you're probably gonna die. So yeah, that's just the risks of it. But I do want to go on a hot air balloon because it looks pretty fun, it looks pretty cool, it looks pretty dangerous.
Don't typically fly much higher than 3,000 feet or 900 meters. It just takes way too much heat energy to rise much higher than that. It can be done, but like, why? Anyway, back to Animal Crossing. As long as the net forces and weights all cancel out, a balloon can lift stuff. And since a balloon rises when you fill it with helium, that means it has some lifting power to spare. And that 6 liter measurement wasn't something I took out of nowhere. It's the estimate I was was able to get by measuring balloons by filling them with water in my apartment, although for reasons we'll get into in a bit, it was insufficient and I needed to find a better method. We'll get there. The buoyancy formula is relatively simple, almost embarrassingly simple in truth. The force of buoyancy is equal to the volume of displaced fluid, the density of the displaced fluid, and acceleration due to gravity. In this case, we have 0.006 cubic meters times the density at sea level of the atmosphere of 1.225 kilograms per cubic meter times 9.806 meters per second squared, which gives our current balloon a lifting force of 0.0720741 newtons, which is tiny. It takes 9.8 newtons to lift 1 kilogram, so dividing this number by 9.8, or rather just not putting it in the formula to begin with, we can figure out how much weight a balloon filled with helium can lift. And it turns out to be about 7.35 grams. Minus the 2 grams the balloon weighs, that's only 5.35 grams. That is really tiny. That's about 253 grains of rice, even less if you put
253 grains of rice. The scientists are gonna say how heavy 253 grains of rice are. The average conclusion of 5.35 grams. Like, who measures that? Who measures how heavy 253 grains of rice are? Like, man.
Them in some sort of container. No wonder I couldn't get my G.I. Joes to fly. That said, I wasn't convinced that my method of measuring the carrying capacity of balloons was really all that great. For one thing, water puts way more stress on the latex than gases do for a bunch of different reasons, so screw it, I said, I'm just gonna buy a freaking tank of helium and fill some freaking balloons myself and measure it! And I don't know, maybe fulfill a childhood dream of actually getting something into a stable flight using helium balloons. And you know what? It was a huge pain in the butt.
It was a huge disappointment. This probably was gonna happen because you bought a helium tank for this video. Like, I mean, some YouTubers they need to buy a helium tank, but for game theory, this is what you'd least expect them to do: buy a freaking helium tank to see if Animal Crossing balloons are big lies or big truths. Like, what is this? Is this a game theory video?
Measuring the lifting capacity really was not that hard at all. I just filled a cup with salt I mined fresh from the internet and plopped it down on a kitchen scale, filled balloons until they were ready to burst with helium, and taped them to the cup to see how much weight they removed. And I was right to doubt my estimates before. I got an average across all balloons of 9 grams of lifting force. That's including the weight of the balloon. This is way more than my estimate of 5-ish grams. I was off by almost 50%. This makes the max capacity of the average latex balloon somewhere in the 9-liter range. Not the 6-liter one, but it's here when I started to run into problems. You see, I wanted to simulate sending off a gift in stable flight, but 9 grams, in spite of being way more than 5, is still not a lot of lifting capacity. It's pretty much exactly the weight of 2 sheets of paper. But it gets even worse. You see, my struggle for my entire life trying to get things to fly with helium balloons is stability. Because in my mind, stable flight isn't just going like straight up forever until you've nearly exited the troposphere, but rather it's being able to control your height, stay level, and move forward. Horizontal travel. That's what flight is. You know, exactly what you see in Animal Crossing. The balloons aren't just flying up and down willy-nilly. They have a very stable, gentle flight plan across your island.
Like, how is that even possible? It's so, like, stable. Like, yeah, that's a big lie right there, because you can't get a balloon to, like, to have a gift there. Like, it's just so stable, it has, like, a direct route, and then just follows it. Like, how? Yeah, that's a big line right there.
At a fairly consistent altitude, only deviating by like a few inches, or, you know, centimeters if you don't understand my freedom units. And the more I thought about it, and the more I experimented, the more sure I was that this kind of flight, the kind of flight you see in the game, is impossible. I actually built...
Yeah, I mean, it's a video game. I mean, if there was any video game theory, it wouldn't even exist. But it's a video game. I mean, the whole point of game theory is to prove that video games are wrong. I mean, they've always been wrong since the beginning. So it's kind of pointless. But it's not, alright? It's for entertainment purposes. Alright? It's for our entertainment purposes. Alright? Yeah.
A present box and filled it with a DIY recipe and more or less proved that it is possible for a balloon to carry a really crappily built present box filled with instructions for how to build a table. There are, however, two major problems, and they are both kind of related. Problem the first, actually perfectly canceling out the lifting force of the balloon is a huge pain in the butt. You see, in order to keep the box from lifting up essentially forever, I have to cancel out all 9 grams perfectly down to the milligram, which in this context means that the slightest amount of material makes a huge difference. Slightly too much scrap ballast paper and it sinks, slightly too little and it wants to exit my apartment. In order to get a stable, consistent height, the weight of the balloon and its package has to exactly equal the lifting force. Technically, if it's too light, it will lift to an altitude where it eventually becomes stable, but this could be hundreds or thousands of feet up in the air, well out of slingshot range. And this is all ignoring the fact that my balloons were cheap and terrible and leaked helium like a sieve. I definitely should have invested in some of that high float stuff, but well. But even if I perfectly balanced the weight, which I think I actually got pretty close to doing, there's a whole new problem to worry about. The air itself. Fluids, by their very nature, are unstable and shift around for all sorts of reasons, and the very existence of, everything around you, including yourself, creates tons of swirling and rising as fluids move around you, and these are known as eddy currents. You can feel them if you want to, even in a,
janky 3D and 1 second.
Completely still room. Just extend your arm in front of you, like
that. Like, what is that? What is that? What? That's some horrible janky 3D right there if I've ever seen one. Like, what? Yeah. This looks horrifying. This looks like it should be in a horror movie. It just like creeps up on you and it says, "Hey Johnny." Was that what he says? I don't know. It says it's Johnny. I don't know. But this guy would be like in a horror movie, and then you'd try to escape from him because he's like, this guy's terrifying. Like, what is it? What is this?
Stiff and swing it from left to right as fast as you can. You should be able to feel the eddy currents wrapping around your arm and brushing you gently on the opposite side of your arm's movement. Have fun editing that one, Tanya. There's also all sorts of things like wind and localized pressure differences. In fact, local pressure changes can be as extreme as 2% in a lot of places. All this creates tons of problems for our balloon, which not only has huge...
It just needs to be picture perfect. For it to land on your island for 5 to 15 minutes every single time, so it lands on your island for every 15 minutes. Like, how do you even do that? Because it's gotta be picture perfect, and you've gotta have a lot of times, and it's gotta take a lot more than 15 minutes to actually do.
Surface area, but if it's perfectly balanced, it only weighs 9 grams, meaning even if it's designed to hover perfectly in a 100% stable atmosphere, there's no such thing as a perfectly stable atmosphere. A stable flight is very relative, and even professional pilots can expect as much variance as 100 feet on their target altitudes while flying things that are much, much heavier than a balloon. This means that even if you get a perfectly stable package flying off toward an island, a tiny, imperceivable gust of wind can send it crashing into the ground or swoop it up into the sky way, way above your head and out of slingshot range. And the thing is, these air currents are particularly bad in coastal areas like islands where the low pressure air from the land collides with the higher pressure air from the sea and creates a strong updraft of thousands of meters, meaning any balloon floating nearby is going to get swept up into the sky every single time. Flight is a lot more complicated than simply canceling out the force of gravity, and it's why there are people who devote their entire lives to learning fluid dynamics in order to design airplanes. And the lighter an object is, the more prone to these wind forces things are going to be. And I don't think it needs to be said, but while we're at it, these balloons would not be able to carry anything other than a few pieces of paper. Period. Clay.
I mean, maybe if your present is a piece of paper. Maybe just a piece of paper. Oh, here's my present. It's a piece of paper. And you're so tiny in Animal Crossing. That's probably what they need to do, so that it's actually reality. But I mean, depends on what distance it's coming from, and like if it's like a long distance, then there's gonna be a lot of problems, and it's practically impossible. But if it's like a small distance, like slingshot range, then slingshot it. Maybe, but there's still so many problems. So yeah, impossible.
Or freaking furniture? Forget about it. Even though these balloons do appear to be bigger than standard helium balloons, they're likely only capable of lifting 20 to 30 grams at best. And I know what you're thinking. You've been following me for a long time, and you've become very, very nerdy. And you're like, hey, Austin, isn't hydrogen half the weight of helium, ergo giving it twice the lifting power? And to that I say, hey,
No.
you're getting pretty smart. I like the cut of your jib. And also, nope, you're totally wrong.
Nope.
While helium is twice as heavy as hydrogen in their gaseous forms, they're both way lighter than our atmosphere, making hydrogen only about 8% more effective at lifting than helium, giving it the ability to lift 9.72 grams over helium's 9.
I mean, not a large difference, but it may be useful in some cases, but still not a large difference.
Added downside of being super flammable. So, while helium balloons are technically capable of delivering the lightest of items, the shortest of distances, they're going to be wildly inconsistent, with over half of your presents either crashing into the ocean or being swept up kilometers into the sky before ever reaching you. What if that means that the ocean is just getting absolutely littered with presents that never actually made it to you?
Oh, well, I throw that back if I were you. Yeah, maybe you go fishing Animal Crossing and you find a present filled with furniture. Maybe they need to add it to the game. I wouldn't try it because I don't play it, but you know, reality. Gotta have those science facts in your game.
That cutesy game that just wanted to do a cutesy thing, you thought you were safe from me, but I gotcha! Suck on that, Animal Crossing! Phew, I did it. Why do I feel so empty inside? Should I reflect on whether or not I add anything of value to the world by tearing down things that are clearly just meant to be fun? Nah, screw that! Get done!
And then there's gonna be an existential crisis, and he's gonna say, "Why am I even here? Why am I even here?" It's probably what he's gonna say. Thought that was what he's gonna say, but he doubted.
I'm done. Sincerely, Austin. Hey there. Did you know that I have a Patreon for this show? You probably didn't, because I literally
don't. And if you want to go to that Patreon, you go on. But that's the end of the video, guys. Thanks for watching this new video. My chair, when I move, it's always on here, and I think I'm gonna like freaking scratch my chair, which is not a good thing for it to happen. So yeah, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, click that bell. Check out the description if you want to support me and support you in the process. And subscribe more, and make like other accounts to subscribe, so that you will get the 200 subscriber special even sooner. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching. And of course, peace out. Peace. I would do that if I could get that out, but I can't. So yeah, peace.